Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us the director, writer, producer of a movie that actually screened at Magic of Horror, which I had the pleasure of going to, and it's called Checkout. I have with us Justin Stearns. Justin, welcome to the Horror Realm.
Hey, Travis. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. So, tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about Checkout.
yeah, sure. So I've been a filmmaker since 2009, so it's about 15 going on 16 years now. And right before COVID in 2019, I took a break. And so I was really looking for something to kind of start, working again. And I came across a true story that happened in New Jersey in 1999. And that became this 7, 8 minute film, Checkout, which is about our main character, Jared, who's going through a divorce. And he ends up in the Maroon Motel for the night. But it turns out that the room is already occupied, and I don't want to give too much away. So it's a pretty short film. So
So, what gave you the inspiration? You've been doing this for 2009. What gave you the inspiration for this particular film?
Yeah, so like I said, I came across a true story from Atlantic City back in 1999 that did take place in a hotel room, but it was some German tourists. So I did switch the characters around a little bit based on my own personal experiences that had happened during my 6 year hiatus. I was in a serious relationship, went through a breakup, was isolated due to COVID, things like that. So that really kind of gave me the basis for the character, and then the story pretty much wrote itself based off of what had happened in real life. So I just really took the two and married the idea together. And I really wanted to explore using art as therapy in a way, just to kind of help me work through what I was going through. I sort of did that through this character in this film, and really just kind of processed everything, and put my heart into it. So there was a lot of like confronting inner demons, isolation, emotional turmoil, decay and renewal, the intersection of fear and reality, and acceptance, and finally letting go. So I got to explore a lot of different themes when I was working on it.
Now, is it hard as a filmmaker to not put a little bit of yourself in each one of your projects?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all kind of leave our mark on everything that we do. This one, however, was the first time that I was in it, did everything like you mentioned. I wrote it, directed, produced, was in the film. I was the only character on screen. So it was a lot more of me, I think, in the film than pretty much anything else that I've made so far. I've been on 3 full festival tours, and I think this one has my biggest personal stamp on it. So yeah, it's really been a bit of a personal journey, and I wanted to kind of make a statement when I was coming back into things. And I was a little rusty. It's coming back after 6 years of not working on anything at all. So it was important to me to kind of have a story where the character actually goes through something to help me personally kind of move forward as well.
Now, one thing I must say is I have a
Yeah.
huge respect for filmmakers who can make a short film, but also
Mhm.
get that beginning, middle, and end, and tie it all
Mhm.
together in that short time span. Is that
Yes.
something that is challenging?
Um, yes. We had a very short time frame to work in. I mean, obviously, seeing any film through to completion is a feat in and of itself. There's so many that unfortunately never make it to the finish line. So I was just grateful that we got there in the end, of course. But yeah, it was big on me in this film to have like character driven horror. A lot of horror films rely purely on like jump scares. Check out more centers on Jared's emotional arc. So the human element kind of elevates the story a little bit, and it makes it resonate with viewers on like a little bit of a deeper level.
And you told me that this is your third film festival round. So I have
Yes,
a
yeah,
lot of new filmmakers who watch my channel. What is
yeah.
some advice you can give to them when it comes to submitting your films to film festivals?
Um, the time, the runtime is key, and trim all the fat you absolutely can. That's been kind of the main thing that I've learned in doing this. I actually wrote this specifically to tour, so I was real big on making sure that it was not only something I could do within a micro budget, because it was a micro budget film, but also something I could shoot one location, very few characters. I think there's four total characters, but like I said, I'm the only one ever on screen. And then just keeping that runtime as short as possible. I actually did get some feedback after Magic of Horror where a few people were like, it actually could have been a little longer. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll keep it in mind for the next one. But yeah, absolutely keep it short, because, I tell people a lot, if you've got one A plus 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 movie that's 30 minutes long, and you have, six B plus movies that are all 5 minutes long, the programmers are probably going to lean towards those six films, because that's going to get, a larger word of mouth, things like that. I mean, you might have a really great film over here, but it's taking up a larger block of time. So that's where a lot of my motivation comes from, making really short films, as short as possible. So
now, have you ever done a short film and like, wow, I would love to turn this into a feature length?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is always there. My expectations for that sort of thing are pretty low most of the time, but I do definitely fantasize about the idea that somebody might see a short and it's just a concept sort of thing that gets turned into something bigger. I think that would be amazing to have that happen, but I am highly satisfied working in short format. It works well for me, but my family's always asked me, when are you going to make a long one? I've never actually done a feature film in 15 years. So I hope that I do one day. I think that would be a really great experience, because I think everything I've ever shot has been in 1 or 2 days. So I've never really got that full, week or two of production time where it's just, craziness. So I definitely want to get the chance to experience that at some point soon.
So, Justin, right now, listen, there is a huge surge in indie filmmakers. I mean, we were talking about horror, but indie horror filmmakers. What is the biggest struggle right now being an indie horror filmmaker, would you say?
I would say coming up with original content where it's not something where we've seen it done over and over and over and over again. And that's one thing I will say. You mentioned Magic of Horror. When I was there, everything was high concept, it was very original, and I appreciated that, because there were so many unique ideas out there. I was like, oh, I never would have thought of doing something like that. So I think just originality and being true, to your art form, being true to who you are as an artist, and just really letting that shine through is probably, the biggest thing right now.
And I agree about Magic of Horror. There was some great. I talked to someone else who had a film screened there, the guy from Chicago. Yeah. I can't think of his name right now, but
yeah,
there were so many great movies. I mean, I was like, whoa! I mean,
we got chills.
Yes, I mean, and I'm like, damn! I wish I would have got there a little bit earlier, because I missed out on a couple too.
Yeah. We were in the very first screening block of the day. It was really early on. But yeah, I saw some just absolute great films. I mean, the award winners all absolutely deserved it. I mean, I was cheering for a few of them because I was hoping they would win. So I thought it was really great. I had a great time there.
And the Bunny Man, that was amazing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah.
It was so good. I was so upset when it stopped halfway through. I was like, I'm glad we were able to finish it up.
It's a popcorn break, yeah.
Yes. All right, Justin, listen, this is a horror channel, and I do this every once in a while with my guests. I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions. This is your personal opinion, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. The first one, what is one horror movie that everybody loves that you're like, it's okay?
Oh gosh. Probably the Saw movies, just because I can't do like gore and that stuff at all. There were a few of the films that we saw that I was like, I can't. I absolutely stay away from the gory type stuff. So they just don't do it for me at all. I mean, they're objectively good films. They're very well written and very clever, but I can't. I can't get into it like most people do at all.
And I agree with you. Like it seems like the older I've got, I cannot do just over the top gore anymore. And,
Yeah,
I like psychological horror a little bit more.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Second question is, who is one horror film filmmaker that you feel like has been influential in your career?
Probably. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it was the director that wrote Lights Out. He did the short film. It was him and his wife, like in their apartment. Yeah, you've seen it, and that got turned
Yes.
into a feature. That is probably the first short I ever saw. It scared the daylights out of me. The first time I saw it, I've showed it to so many people since, and I'm like, you have to see this. It's so good. It has definitely inspired um, just that high concept, simple idea, one location type stuff when it comes to making any kind of thriller horror. Really, it's influenced a lot of movies. It's inspired me a lot. I mean, because I'm I work on a short. I'm like, I want to see something that good, up on screen when I'm finished. So I think I actually go back to that one a lot when it comes to working on a short for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw the Lights Out and the feature length in the theaters, and I did not even know it
Yeah.
was a short film. You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like
Yeah.
so I revisited years later, and it's so good. It's so good. I mean, I see
Yes.
why. I see why. You know,
Yes.
someone was like, let's run with this and let's make this into a feature length.
Absolutely. So good. Such a great film.
Last question: what is one horror
Yeah.
series that you wish they would put the nail in the coffin?
Oh, it's got to be Halloween. Didn't we just have a new Halloween like last year again?
We did.
We're on like
You're making
I
another
don't.
one.
Oh my gosh. I get it. I get it. It's got its fans, but that I don't
And I'm
know.
wearing
I
a
don't.
Halloween sweatshirt right now too, and I'm done
Yeah.
with
Oh, are you?
it. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. It's
and I'm
it's got
done.
to be that one. I'm just like, how many more of these can they possibly make? And it always seems like they're about to wrap it up, but they find something else. I mean, good for them. They've got plenty of material apparently, so that's awesome.
And listen, I'm in full agreement. When if somebody asks me that question, I always say Halloween. So the original
Yeah.
Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. But
Yeah.
and I love the series. I love a lot of the sequels. But
Yeah.
yeah, especially after that last trilogy, I'm done. I'm done. I mean, between
Yeah.
that, Rob Zombie, and that, I'm definitely done. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I wouldn't want to see another Halloween movie in my lifetime. I just don't want to see.
Sure.
I just don't want to see one in the next 10, 15 years.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. A little too
Yeah,
soon.
it
Give
needs
it
a
some
break.
some time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they've been pumping out one since 1978, literally like every other year, and like I think
Oh wow.
I
I
feel
didn't
like
even
it's been
realize it
every other
was from.
year. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So they've got to be up in like the I don't know 20s by now if you were to count them all out.
boy, let me see, six Resurrection. Oh no. So part six was Curse of Michael Myers, and then HTO's
Yeah.
seven, and then Resurrection's
Yeah.
eight, and then two Rob Zombies. That makes 10, and then the three Blumhouse at 13. We're at 13.
Oh gosh. Well, lucky number 13. There you go. That's where they cap it right there.
A
13
done.
films. That's
A done.
excellent. Yes.
But then again, I don't even want to see another Friday the 13th movie. Like I'm good. Like I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that would be my next one. Yeah, I'm good on Jason and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
it has its audience, so it's fine,
yeah.
I guess.
I just like the old school stuff. Keep it where it's at, and I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's come up
I
with
don't
some
think we can
new,
ever outdo the
fresh
original. Yeah,
idea. Yeah, let's come up with some new, fresh
yeah.
ideas. Now,
Hmm.
why do you think when it comes to Hollywood horror films, why do you think the executives and production companies, why do you think they're so scared to get new horror ideas? Like, well, why do you think they constantly go on the old IPs and keep going back to them?
100% money, 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 money every time. It's something that's proven to sell, and they know they already have a built-in audience. Why take the risk for something new when you're not sure if it's going to play out or if you're going to lose all your money? Versus, we know people will come and see, Halloween 14. So I guess it's just a safer bet for them in the end. But I think too, they're a little out of touch with audiences because, kind of like we're discussing now, there's a little bit of fatigue around those things. I mean, when you're talking about over 10 movies for a franchise, the audiences are going to get a little fatigued. And so I think it's really important for especially indie filmmakers to be making these new high concept ideas, because hopefully I like to daydream that there's people out there at the festivals, especially the bigger ones, shopping for new ideas. People trying to prove themselves to executives in the industry who are like, look, I found this thing, and hopefully that gets some stuff made. We've seen a few. We mentioned Lights Out. One of my favorites that was really scary the first time I saw it was Sinister. Terrified me. I was sweating in the theater. I was so afraid.
Yeah.
But I think I would love to see more stuff like that when it comes to the horror genre, because we've seen a bunch of Scream, a lot of Saw, a lot of Halloween and Jason, and they definitely all have their place. But some new generation type, those same type of movies, but maybe the next generation of it would be something great for audiences. I think that would be really beneficial to the industry as well.
And the Terrifier series is doing great. I mean, that's an indie. Started off and they're doing great. But I mean, come on now. I mean, listen, you can think of there's so many ideas of creative horror characters or villains or plotline. Like, you don't have to go to the same thing over and over again. But that's why I love indie horror, because I love you guys, because you guys are tapping on the things that people want to see, and it's different, it's fresh, it's sometimes a little offensive, so like it's not PC, so I definitely enjoy that.
Yes.
All right, so what's next for you, Justin?
So I'm actually, the next film that I'm working on, it's not horror, but it's a little bit more of a sci-fi. So with the talk of AI and everything that's going on right now, I'm exploring a film, or the idea of a film that kind of has to do with technology and humans, and making the right choice when it comes to humanity, and really taking a look at those types of themes, like if humans push it too far, if AI is pushing it too far, and who really has the moral high ground when it comes to those concepts. So that's something that I was hoping to get finished by the end of this year, but we're right here around Christmas now, so I don't think it's going to happen. So it's probably going to be early next year. Hoping we'll tour with that one as well. I'll be wrapping up the tour for Checkout probably in May. So right when we're finishing that one, hopefully we'll be jumping into the next one. So it's one I'm really excited about. I've been working on the idea since 2014. And it's just kind of been like, I know I want to make a film like this, and I didn't really have my motivation for it until, the recent rise of AI and everything. And I was like, okay, this is going to be the story. So I'm really excited about that one, actually.
Are you welcoming AI? Are you welcoming what's it, Tesla robots? Are you welcoming this stuff, or? So
hesitantly, I'll say I'm a bit of a I guess a tinfoil hat guy sometimes when it comes to that sort of stuff. I do embrace AI. I think it definitely has its places. But one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. So I think if we're not careful, we absolutely could end up in that scenario. I mean, I am afraid of it. So I'll say that I respect AI, even if in its sometimes simple forms right now. I think it's a tool, but it needs to be respected because it can be something dangerous. Yeah.
Just, because I've heard that there's a lot of indie authors and even filmmakers that are using a lot of
Mm-hmm.
AI
Mm-hmm.
to create their projects, and
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I've read a couple and I've seen a couple, and they're not
Yeah.
good.
No. No. So, actually, it's interesting. I used it for a section in checkout when it was, actually, I was done shooting. We were finished with the whole thing, but I was editing, and I didn't know how to open the film. So I did go on ChatGPT and I asked, how do I convey this amount of information? And it said, I said, I want to convey this amount of information, but I want to do it, because I didn't have footage of it because it's all isolated in this motel room. I said, but I want to do it all through audio. So give me some examples of things that one might hear while all this is going on. And so it actually did give me, a very valuable list of, and those all became the sound cues for the opening of checkout. So it's just over black, and you basically hear like some maybe dishes breaking because it's the start of a separation, a divorce. So you hear dishes breaking and like an argument and somebody crying and a suitcase getting zipped up and a car starting. And then we move and open into the film. So I will say it was of benefit in that way. It's probably not a very good writer, but it did have some great suggestions on how to help me get the film to open. So I did appreciate that.
Because I heard, listen, I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but I heard that like
Yeah.
part of was it Evil Dead Rises was written by AI.
Yeah.
You heard that too?
Oh, no, I didn't.
But like, I've seen that movie and I saw it in the theaters, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I could see where that does because it's missing that
Oh.
human emotion and human element. And I'm watching that
Right.
movie. Listen, spoiler alert, but like when family members are dying, the individuals in this movie are not expressing emotion at all. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
and it just felt so. When I did a review, I was like, wow, these characters seem so robotic. And then when that came
Yeah.
out, I was like, oh well, shit. If that is true, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and that's where it's definitely going to have its shortcomings because I waffle back and forth between using it for art and not using it for art. Kind of like I said earlier, it's definitely a tool. But I think, especially for the most part, it should be used to take care of the more mundane things so that we as humans who can experience emotion and convey emotion are able to work on things that are more meaningful, like films. So I definitely think there's a threshold when it comes to filmmaking where AI just it can't do it. Any art form, it just isn't meant for that in my eyes. So it's definitely probably going to take some like ironing out the wrinkles so that we can use it in an effective way because I definitely think it's something that could help the industry. But it should not be taking over any kind of
I agree.
emotional impact that humans have.
Now, one last question I'm gonna ask you, Justin. Do you feel
Sure,
so
sure.
and I'm an '80s kid, and
Yeah.
the horror genre goes up and down, up and down. It has its recessions, it has its boom. Right now, I feel like we're in
Yeah.
a boom. Do you
Yes.
feel like the recession is around the corner?
Yeah, like the bubble could burst. Yeah, yeah, I think so because we've been going pretty strong since oh gosh, the early to mid 2010s, especially once Blumhouse started coming out. I mean, they pumped out a lot of stuff, and those films are excellent. I mean, talk about a cash cow. They do a great job with all their franchises. So I think so. I mean, it's been nearly a decade, if not a decade so far, of just solid horror films coming out commercially speaking. So I think probably in the next 5 years we could see a slight decline. But hopefully that gives the indie scene. People are like, oh well, I don't want to see any of these things coming out at the theaters. But hopefully the indie scene sees a little bit of a boom in to make up for it. So it really could go one way or another because people really do love their horror. It's definitely a
Yeah.
popular genre, so I'm interested to see.
But it is great when the Hollywood horror hits that recession. It's always
Yeah.
an indie movie that pulls it out. It's out of recession.
Yes.
What it would have been Blair Witch Project, Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead,
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity, Soul. Something pulls it out, and then it's kind of starts pumping the creative juices back up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's exciting to see because it kind of puts us in a new era each time, right? So, if we do go into a little bit of a slump, then we have something to look forward to next time.
Now, VR horror, is that something? Because I'm hearing that they're going to be making VR horror experiences in films. Is that something that you partake in? Or no?
Not as an audience member. I can barely do haunted houses without having heart attacks. I can't play scary games. So I'm one of those people. I'd be interested in making a VR horror film. Not interested at all in participating one from a viewer's point of view. That sounds absolutely terrifying and too anxiety inducing.
I like watching horror films, so I don't want to be a part of a horror film. Well, I don't mind being an actor in a horror film, but I don't want to actually feel the experience of a real life horror scenario. So,
absolutely. Yeah, no thanks. I want to know that I'm actually still safe. Like I said, when I was watching Sinister, I just pouring sweat because my fight or flight responses were like, "You have to go," and I'm like, "It's just a movie. It's fine." But yeah, it's I don't think I could do that. That would be a whole nother level of anxiety for me. So pass.
I pass on that as well. I do not welcome the VR experience. I just look for like once you get into that, that's when you start getting into some weird shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole different level.
All right, Justin, where can everyone find you and your work?
Yeah, so actually started an Instagram for everything recently, and I'm primarily active on that. The main page for us is Stearns Media Group, so that's my last name. Media Group, no underscores, no spaces. On Instagram, we're on Facebook and YouTube, but I really don't use it very much. I don't keep up with it near as much as Instagram, so all the latest news and postings and anything like that, it's definitely Instagram first. So hopefully I'll get to all those other things, keep them a little more up to date starting next year, but we'll see. So.
Well, Justin, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. Listen, and by the way, shout out to this interview was sponsored by Magic of Horror Film Festival. Listen, you got in the Virginia area, definitely. It's an amazing film festival. It's an amazing film festival. If you're a filmmaker, they're great over there. So definitely, it's one of those legit film festivals. So so definitely check them out and thank them for this interview. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Justin Stearns. We'll see you next time, and look out for Checkout. Take care.